of Disney, the next topic we're going to talk about is Black is King, Beyonce, since you had mentioned Disney.
Mufasa.
But
okay, go babe. Mm-hmm.
So after its release, there's been a lot of discourse about from the content and what's in it and what does it mean to how she is being described by critics. So you are the pop culture goddess. So I'm going to let you go ahead and I will just add my little,
so, let's start with now from what I understand, the I Am King, Black is King, I guess there was a movie version of Lion King. So I think the music from that she did, and this is now turned into a documentary. So that's how I think that went. And I have to see the movie version of Lion King. I haven't seen the movie version. So she was the one that did the music for the movie version of Lion King, or most of it or whatever. So now for this piece here, I guess that part blew up. So this piece here, she got paid $100 million for the project that she's now directed and produced. And I learned, sidebar, she knows how to edit. She uses Final Cut Pro. I don't think she's editing now, but in her younger, not so popular years, I mean, popular, but not as popular now. She took an editing class and she started editing some of her videos just because she wanted to learn. So I don't know if she had time to do it. Now she's a mom of 3 people, but this is before the babies were coming. I think she was actually pregnant with the first one or either just had the first one. So anyway, but she does understand editing and can speak the language. So she decided to take on the project. She got $100 million. I don't think the money mattered to her. I just think she thought it was a good project. So I think it was her opportunity to use this as her platform to discuss in a musical way, Black culture, African culture, because Black culture is African culture. We come from Africa and Africa's in us. Of course, there's nuances to the culture because it's different countries and different tribes and different places and spaces, and we're here now as African Americans. We were removed a bit, but even the way we dance, you can still see African dance in our bodies. I mean, just the culture's there. Like the way we suck our teeth, like, Africans suck their teeth a long time. They go like the Jamaicans or but we do it. And I'm like that because, I grew up going, and then I started seeing people from other countries do the long suck. It's like, we suck our teeth too, but it's just a quick suck. So same thing. So just little things that are big things. So anyway, so I think that was what she was trying to do. I don't know the girl, but I think that's what she was trying to do. So not only was she trying to do it in terms of the kinds of lyrics she was writing, she hired African artists, musicians from Africa, I don't know what parts of Africa, to be in the film and sing their songs in the film. So all the clothing and the different things were cultural. Some of the things you wore, if you did your research, you would know, where that comes from, that this king wore that, this queen wore that, what the meaning of this and meaning of that. So the way she was putting in certain styles of things with a little bit of American style. So she had this hat on one time. I'm gonna call it a hat, a headpiece. My brother's an Ethiopian Orthodox priest. He wears that when he does his Feast of St. Michael's. On that annual Feast of St. Michael's, he has his piece. I'm like, my brother has it on. He wears that. So she's putting in culture based on, Ethiopia and all. It was just like amazing, like research to death. It was just unyielding, like bomb research, which of course, Professor, you can appreciate. So that was all solid as a rock. And so then the dancing, you're not gonna. She's always dance well. And she had African dancers, she had American dancers, all kinds of people. I get the feeling that some things were shot there, but not everything. I can tell some things was probably like, keyed in the green screen. I'm not for sure. But I mean, it was all solid. So now that's the low of the details. Now for me, honestly, it was a snoozer. It was bored. I was bored. It was 90 minutes of, love you, bag, but I'm gonna get dragged by the
Oh, they're gonna come, right?
Yeah, of the beehive. So it was boring to me because it was too long. I don't need to see 90 minutes. It was not really a story, right? She just strung along. It looked to me like a gigantic 90 minutes of just video, where you don't have a stopping point. It's just a long. But when you see a different scene or you see different clothes, you kind of know, and a different song being sung, that, okay, this is now a scene, and then another scene. And so the scenes were videos to me. The scenes were small videos. So they were all great. But strung together for 90 minutes, I just didn't want to see that for 90 minutes. I thought it was going to be some kind of story with that stuff involved too, almost like a musical, right? When I go to a musical, I'm expecting to see dancing and singing and other things, but there's still a story, a beginning, middle, and end. So that's the part that I'm like, oh Lord, you know. So other than that, the other stuff, I mean, you can't. It was amazing. Now, the downside is, I think it's critically acclaimed. Most folks loved it, but I'm understanding that there is a faction of Africans talking about how she's co-opting the culture, or she is, you know, what do you call it? Appropriating the culture, co-opting the culture, all that. Now, I did a post today about it, and I said, listen, I don't know every African in the world. I've never even been to Africa, but, well, let me just put it this way. I haven't been back to Africa since slavery, because I've been to Africa. I was born there by way of my forefathers and foremothers. So this is the problem to me of white supremacy, and the problem of how institutional racism and white supremacy permeates the world. How can a person from Africa, you might have moved here from Africa, you're African, you live here in America. How do you even open your mouth? One African, 10 Africans, any number of Africans say that she's appropriating her own culture. She's African. And then we're having a debate. Somebody said, no, she's Creole. I know she's not from Africa. Y'all need me to really, come on, y'all, please.
Who in the hell said she was Creole? You know, that shit, you know, my mother is from Louisiana, and that Creole shit is such a bunch of bullshit. It is, as you say, a product of white supremacy. Because, you know, well, one, that's a whole other thing, but go ahead. What does that mean?
No, I'm listening.
And this idea, you know, Creole, it has evolved into this idea that people got raped a little bit more in a certain part of Louisiana than others. That's what it has evolved to be when, you know, the term is where my mother's from, where my grandmother's from, it meant black. That's how you divided a white person from a black person. Black person was Creole, a white person was Cajun. So it just irks me when people say that. I'm sorry, I inserted myself.
That to me is related. So we're having this war on my page. And then one girl who's from Africa I don't really get Africans on my page, so I got a couple of Africans talking. One African girl was like, well, in Nigeria, and I said, girl, she's bringing up the different locations, South Africa and in Nigeria, and she's naming places, and they don't do that. I said, listen, girl, I'm not gonna sit there and break down the countries of Africa on the continent. This is a general conversation. It's nuanced, of course. I know that there's American culture and there's little cultures within cultures, but we are African. And yes, the culture is still in our body. And she was like, it ain't in your DNA. I said, but oh, it is in our DNA, because you see it everywhere. You see it in how we move, how we look, how we think, how we talk, everything. The fashions is African. Every Black designer infuses African in their fashions. I don't mean kente cloth per se. So like, it's there. And we can claim the motherland because this is our heritage. So yes, she's African, but yes, she's also from New Orleans. Well, she's not from New Orleans. Her mother's from New Orleans. She's actually not from New Orleans. No, her mother is actually. So I said, it's no different than me. I'm not gonna sit there and divorce myself from Africa because I was born in America. One person, well, you from America? I said, yeah, I'm African. I'm African-American. I'm Black. I'm a Newarker. I was born in Newark. I claim to have Southern roots. I say Southern roots because I wasn't born in the South, but I have Southern culture that I still hold on to today. All of that's there. I'm tall. Like, what do you mean? I'm a woman. So I'm not going to divorce any of that. I said the girl from Africa. That's it. And we going in. So the thing is, the sadness of that all of that is, now, the boredom of it all is one thing, but to pick her apart, you don't have to like the entertainment piece of it all, because I was bored. But now I can't pick apart all of the solid, costuming that goes back to the culture, all of the solid music and the lyrics and all of that was solid. That can't be picked apart. It just can't be. She's African. Stop.
Well, I think there's so much you said I want to respond to.
Go for it. It can be bots. Yeah. It can be bots. Go ahead.
Yeah, it is so. Hopefully, I could respond. I'm gonna respond to a couple of things. One, I think this is a really great conversation. Well, because so a newspaper called, it was either Rolling Stone or Rolling Out magazine. Maybe it was Rolling Out magazine. Y'all still owe me money. Y'all didn't pay me, bitches. Anyway, okay. When I used to live in Atlanta. So anyway, I called her Mama Africa. And people were offended by that because that was a term that was, that's what Miriam Makeba, the singer, was called, Mama Africa. And she was somebody who was very much active in South African liberation, and that subsequently was exiled, so on and so forth. They were like, you're nothing close to Miriam Makeba, which I do agree. I think I agree. The person who chose that, I thought that was, you call it an egregious error. I think that was egregious of them.
But don't call Beyonce for that. She didn't call herself that.
Right, exactly. She didn't call herself that, right? She made
no claim.
Seldomly does she make public statements.
Never.
Right? So also, I think the clash between our people of African descent outside of Africa, and more so, I would say specifically the United States, are they culturally appropriating when we reimagine what our culture would look like? See, if you have not been in the process of the shit being stripped, you don't understand the process of working back to it, right? So you know what I mean? So that's the disconnect. Correct. And that cultural, that process has become something, I would say, that when Africans left the continent after slavery, when they had the choice to leave, right, and come to places such as the States or, you know, Europe or so on and so forth, is that in order to kind of position themselves, it's like, oh no, I'm not the local native Black person, slave Black person. I actually have an intact culture, which is bullshit too, because colonialism, you know, wreaked havoc. And, you know, that's why, you know, in South Africa, a lot of, you know, the Black people don't speak Zulu or whatever the native tongue is, right? So these are these clashes. And also, I think this is a conversation also about capitalism too. So that I think that, I know Beyonce, she is very well read in order to, or a well-taught student. She had 30 artists on her stuff. Most of them were African, right? Very well taught, right? So in order to even present in all of these different costumes, she had to be very well read, very well studied. I know it's a fact. She practices some sort of Santeria, Voodoo, Lukumi, or something like that. But so with that being said, I don't think that she is absolved or she should not be critiqued. I don't think everybody's art is critiqued. Right. And everybody is going to have their opinion. I think like this is an evolution. I haven't seen it, but this is kind of evolution. If you look at Lemonade, she has like these little kind of visuals where she's fusing this indigenous or the indigenous and African and Kemetic, or I think it was more like Nigerian with contemporary, right? Which is what African artists do in Africa anyway.
What I was going to say, no, here's what I'm going to say, and you're a professor, so I can be off on this one, but no, contemporary to the white eyes. Nothing we do is contemporary. It's always African.
So,
this is nothing new. No move that we make, no dance we do is new. All those rap is not new, it's African.
Right.
Nothing's new for us. We might not know it because we don't know our history, but when we're doing these things, if we look them up and dug back, it's African. So when white folks are loving it and clapping for it, to them it's contemporary. Or some young kid that don't know their history, but we know the wrongful, none of twerking, all that stuff, that's not new.
Right. So I wasn't talking about necessarily the dancing and the movement, right? And I do agree, like twerking is nothing new. I mean, yeah.
The clothes, all of that.
Right. And I've been to Africa about 5 times. So, you know, and I would say more so like this, what I see is especially like the younger folks, like they'll take a traditional, you know, like maybe textile, and they'll do a French cut on it, or they'll do, you know what I mean, whatever, and have like a suit or an A-line skirt, like, but even though we know those fashions, like you said, are old, right? So that's what I want to say. the critique that I have, there's multiple things, but the critique that I have is that I with this is somebody, of course, she's nothing close to a Mackenzie Scott,
No.
Amazon, right? But there's a really interesting strategy that she does. She'll do a quote unquote political move, like submit the letter in support of Breonna Taylor, and then she'll drop something that streams where you have to pay to be on it. This is a strategy, this is a capitalistic strategy. And so I'm on the fence in terms of who she really is and what she really represents. Has she grown artistically? Yes. Has she grown politically? Yes, but it's still not clear. But I'm not going to take anything away from how her work and her music does give girls and Black women and Black people a visual and aesthetic as boring as it can be. It seems like it's very quote unquote cerebral that she did. Something that they can retool in their minds, which is what we need right now.
Correct. I'll say this to you about capitalism. First of all, everybody who's watching this and anybody who has ever used the word capitalism should look at the film by Michael Moore. He doesn't have a lot of Black people in it, but you can kind of juxtapose, you can switch out Black for white because it's just awesome. If you want to understand the evils of capitalism, you need to watch that movie. It's just the best one out that really gives it to you hard. Back to this. Actually, no, you did not need Disney Plus. Now, what I do think they did, not her, Disney did. Now, I wonder if she knew about this. She probably wanted us to get it for free. They didn't promote it, that they were going to give it to you for free not for free. Channel 7, ABC. Disney owns ABC. So the next day, I think it was on ABC. Luckily, I didn't run out and get Disney Plus to cancel later because it was on ABC, but I ended up logging into somebody else's account anyway. So it turned out it was on the regular channel, whatever your ABC channel is. In New York, it's Channel 7. So it did turn out to be on ABC. Now, what Oprah did and what Discovery did was when they were doing all those specials on Oprah talking about race, they told you up front, it's gonna air initially on OWN at this time, then you can catch it on Discovery at that time. They let you know because Discovery owns part of OWN. So anybody who doesn't have the premium package with OWN in the package knew to watch Discovery, like the girl that was on the show when we talked about Oprah's takeaways. She didn't have OWN. I said, oh, it comes on Discovery. So I got Discovery, and she just set her thing to record on Discovery. So you knew up front, Discovery folks, it's gonna be here. And then and here's what Oprah did. That's my wife. Even if you did not have the package, and I wrote this girl an email, I said, if you don't have the package, she's offering this on OWN for free. Meaning you could just go online, I gave her the link, and watch this stream for free without having it in your package. She's not offering the other shows for free. You have to have OWN. But this thing, she said, that platform, that panel, she had for free for if you don't have OWN. Now, here's why she gave it away, because I think Oprah really means for you to watch it. But I think she feels like, and it's a 2-for-1. If you watch it on OWN for free, you might run across some other shows that you go, oh, that's on OWN, let me get on. She's gonna get some little, extra sales along the way down the road. But she did want you to watch it. So what they should have done was made that free.
Yeah.
Like you watch this for free for 24 hours or for 3 days or something, and then you're gonna see other stuff on there, and so you're gonna get some little purchases. So that's what I didn't like. So I don't know if she knew that they did give it to you on ABC a day later or 2 days later.
And I also want to just also say too, is that Disney, a couple of years ago, there was a lot of reports about how Disney horribly underpays its workers at the Disneylands and Disney Worlds. There was an Ethiopian actually immigrant who died in the parking lot outside of Disneyland. She had a heart attack and she was like in the car for like 5 or 7 days. And she had been living in her car for years because she couldn't afford living in Orange County. Also, Disney has a history of racist content from, racist and also gendered, right? Content. And also Walt Disney, was a bitch. So anyway, and I think his granddaughter came out and talked about his racism too as well. So,
Put his ass on fast.
you know, so there's also kind of, and we all have to do a dance when we're you know,
Sure.
working with corporations. There's always a dance. So it's just, I'm just bringing up that it doesn't discount what it is that she did.
I've told Black people, anybody Black talking about Beyonce working for racists, so do you. Where you work at? Because first of all, there's 46 million Black people in America, and there's a handful of Black businesses that's big enough to hire Black people, not these little small companies like me, the Tyler Perrys of the world. They can't hire 46 million Black people. Right. Everybody I know work for somebody white, and they're probably a racist. So shut the hell up.
Right.
Not you, but I'm saying, if
no. I understand.
It's good to bring. No, you're not bringing it up because of her. You're bringing it up to say, be mindful of this company. You're not saying, oh, she's right. You know, yours is coming at a different way. But I've seen people say, you know, and she's right, you know, and work for the white man. But you work for the post office. But you work for a Prudential Center. But you work for the white man too.
Right.
You work for Verizon. So you work for somebody that's a racist, probably most likely. You work for Chick-fil-A. You know.
Right.
Black have to make money some kind of way. You work for Dunkin' Donuts.
Right. And this is another thing, and this is something I think that kind of connects to when we were talking about Nick Cannon. Beyonce has been in the industry since she was a little girl.
Yeah.
And there's something to be said about evolution and evolving in front of the public's eye. And there is a lot of pressure. So as we just regular folk are negotiating, working for the white man, we're constantly thinking about, you know, what's the difference in terms of working in order to feed my family or keep a roof over my head and being a tool of white supremacy. So that's where, like, I feel that, Clarence Thomas is a tool, a conscious tool for white supremacy.
Well, right. So there are the Clarence Thomases. I don't think that's Beyonce. That's not. Right. Now, and there are some people that's mopping floors for white people that'll tell on your ass too, and you're Black. So it's not just rich people that can be the tool. You have lots of poor folks that work in regular companies, and they're the ones that'll tell that white man about what you're doing, ain't doing, because they want the white man to love them. So it's all levels of it. Right. You could be making $50,000 a year and be doing that. I've seen it many times. Or be making $100 million a year and be doing that. I've seen, like, I'll give you an example. Denzel Washington, he's the example of that. He ain't said shit yet about Black Lives Matter. And you're one of the biggest actors in Hollywood, so I ain't feeling you right now, Denzel. I ain't gonna go to none of your movies no more, Denzel. You need to come out the fucking closet and talk this shit right now. I need that. So he's an example of what you're saying. Beyonce, to me, I wouldn't classify her as that. Now, I'll go here with this. I do think we can't take the human away from the human. Something tells me, not just Beyonce, there's a disease called addiction to celebrity. I do think a lot of them get that. I think Beyonce has it. I for sure think that Nick Cannon has it, because remember, Nick Cannon has enough money to feed a small island for the rest of their lives. So I think he's doing too much begging and too many apologies. So why are you doing this? It can't be for the money. You cannot be missing the money. You don't need the money. You don't even need the popularity, because Oprah offered you $10 million to come over to OWN after it all jumped off.
Really?
So honey, Oprah stepping up a little bit. Yeah, my wife stepped up. I'm like, okay, Oprah, you get out the doghouse, because she was in the doghouse a little bit, you know. But I ain't gonna divorce you, girl, but you in the doghouse a little bit.
Woo.
Yeah, she's getting out the doghouse. You know, it takes a lot for me to divorce Oprah. But, you know, she does get in the doghouse periodically. She doesn't know. So she offered him $10 million after all of that, and after he had the rabbi on the show. She said, come over here to OWN. I'm gonna give you $10 million for just the one show. For a while now, I guess whatever version you can call it there. Puffy offered. He didn't do it. He's not talking. He keeps on talking about the Jewish people in politics. He's not saying, I'm going to Oprah. He could say, I heard what Oprah said, I'm going to. He didn't do nothing about going to Oprah, Puffy. He keeps trying to get in their good graces, because I think he's addicted to celebrity. You have that, it's a drug. So that's what I think he's chasing right now, until he has to come down off of it with a 12-step program, or, you know, go into a corner and shake. But I think he has that. So I think a lot of celebrities have that. I don't know if they all know that they do. So I think there's an element of that attached to, not all, but I'm sure close to all. And Beyonce's no different. She's still human. But I don't think that they all have it to the point where they cannot cut away from it to do the right thing, which I think Beyonce does do. So I think she's a mishmash of both of those things happening at the same time. But I don't think she's necessarily, you know, feeding the white supremacy in that kind of way. But it always is, because you're working with them and giving them your brand and all that. So it always is, regardless whether it's intentional or not. So yes.
Right.
ARC Republicans, you want to remain connected to the weekly check-ins with Lisa Durden and a plethora of other interviews that we have from experts, community members, activists, politicians, you name it. You can catch it if you subscribe to ARC Republic's YouTube, and as well, go to our website, arcrepublic.com. Membership is gangsta, and we tell stories in order to change the conversation.